Hey guys, welcome to this week's weekly draft video. It's another Magic Origins draft, Magic Origins draft number 8. I post a draft video every week, so if you're not already a subscriber and you like watching draft videos, please subscribe to my channel as I post many of them, one a week, as I just said. I will be back with you guys when the first pack opens, and hopefully we open something cool. So I will be back with you at that time. All right, we are about to see what we open. Let's see what the draft gods give us. Shivan Reef. Certainly not something that's very exciting. So the things I would think about first picking from this pack are Swift Reckoning, Thopter Engineer, and Reef Soul. Swift Reckoning's been a little underwhelming for me. The fact that you can only use it like if you're on defense makes it kind of bad. I mean, it is an efficient removal spell and all, and I like that. Thopter Engineer has been very good for me in the past, as has Reef Soul. And I'm leaning towards just taking the Reef Soul. I think it's one of the best removal spells in the format. I mean, it's already clear that it's good, but in a format like this one, where there's tons and tons of creatures that it can kill, it's even better. And I like it more than Swift Reckoning, in a vacuum. I'd be happy to have both in my deck, of course. And I like the Engineer. It's just, a really good, efficient creature who gives you a Thopter. But I like to prioritize removal, especially removal that can kill, a huge percentage of creatures for a very cheap amount of mana. So we're going to take Reef Soul with our first pick here. Yeah, so that is what we do. Okay, and we're immediately followed up with Cruel Revival, Unholy Hunger, and Blessed Spirits. So the person to our right probably isn't black. Mentioning Blessed Spirits wasn't important, but they may have taken a really good black rare. That seems possible, but I think I'd probably just take Cruel Revival now and sort of just stay open in our second color, but be happy we have two pretty good removal spells. I like Blessed Spirits too, and I like Boggart Brute in this pack, and Unholy Hunger. But Cruel Revival is better than Unholy Hunger. First of all, it's easier to cast, and second of all, it can get you a zombie back, which you're almost always going to be running at least one zombie if you're running black. So I'm going to go with Cruel Revival here. Okay, there's a Shambling Ghoul. There's a Separatist Void Mage here, and I'm pretty inclined to take that just because it's, I think, the best card in this pack. I could just take the Ghoul and stay open, but the Void Mage is, I think, a wide margin better. The tempo is pretty big in this format. Bouncing a creature and putting a 2/2 body out there is very relevant. Weight of the Underworld's another route I could take, but the Void Mage is better than both of those. I think it's the best card in this pack, period, basically. And Shrouding Mist is pretty good, too, but I'm going to take the Void Mage for now and see if we can go into blue-black. Definitely liking what we have so far. Lots of, three removal spells, basically, even though the Void Mage is only temporary. It's more of a tempo spell, I suppose, but it can also get rid of auras and things like that. Here, Blazing Hellhound's worth considering. Because we could be black-red, seems entirely possible, but the signals aren't great that red's open. Dragon Fodder doesn't indicate a whole lot. Especially this early. There's like no other red in this pack, so it could in fact be that red's not open at all. There's a Shadows of the Past, which is a really good value card that you can use as a win condition, and I think it's at its best in a blue-black deck where you have the access to the most cards that also care about the graveyard or who fill the graveyard. So it's for either Blazing Hellhound or Shadows of the Past here. And it's kind of a hard choice. The Hellhound is very strong, but red has to be open to make it work. If it comes all the way back to me, I might think about taking it, but for now we'll take the Shadows. Here, there is a very good red card, but there's also another Separatist Void Mage that I think I'm just going to take. Red looks like it probably is open if Skyraker Giant, open enough anyway, if Skyraker Giant's still here. Eyeblight Assassin's pretty good too, but the Void Mage is, again, just better than most of the other cards in the pack. I could see making an argument for Skyraker Giant being at least as good, but other than that, there's not really any competition here. Okay, we have Skob Goliath, another Shadows of the Past, which does make me, kind of wish I'd taken the other card in the earlier pack. I don't think I want two Shadows of the Past, although scrying twice every time something dies could be good, but I think I'll take a Skob Goliath. We don't have a lot of creatures yet, but we'll end up with enough to run Skob Goliath, and he's a great finisher in the blue-black decks, where you just sort of kill and bounce a bunch of stuff and get a Skob Goliath out there that's almost impossible to deal with. Black only has one spell that can kill it because Cruel Revival only kills non-zombies, so it can't even kill it. And red can't kill it at all. It's really hard for green to kill it. Blue and white both have enchantments that can go on it. Here it's either between Undead Servant and Watercourser, and there's also a Celestial Flare and a Cleric with Forward Order, so white seems relatively open, but I don't see any reason to reach into white at this point when we have, decent cards in our colors. I'm kind of tempted to take the Servant. We're going to want cards in our graveyard anyway for Shadows of the Past. I've never quite gotten enough Undead Servants to make it, worth running. And it's also another zombie we can get back with Cruel Revival, as is Scab Goliath. Although there's sort of some dyssynergy between Scab Goliath and Undead Servant if I have to exile it, but I think for now I take the Servant, and we just picked up another one, so I'm pretty happy about that. We'll take back-to-back Undead Servants. We do need some earlier drops, and this Watercourser helps us with that. If we can up like 4 Undead Servants, I'd be pretty happy. It'd be pretty great. I think I take a Dark Dabbling. I probably don't run it, but it's an okay combat trick at times. Doing pretty good on Undead Servants, that's for sure. And the 2 Separatist Void Mages are very good, as are our removal spells. So I'm pretty happy with blue and black. They seem to be open enough. We're not seeing a lot of sexy stuff now for blue and black, but so they're not so incredibly open that you can still pick up decent cards. Although actually Rabid Bloodsucker is a decent card that I cut more often than I keep it in, but I've played it a few times, and it could make this deck depending on what we see. Take a Reclaim. We definitely want to find some 2-drops, although there's not a lot of them in these colors. That's one of the downsides about playing these colors, but there are a few. Shambling Ghoul, Maritime Guard. I think that might be it, at least at common. So it's not a lot. I mean, you can also get Reave Souls and Disperses, so you can at least interact on turn 2, which is important in this format. So let's see what rare we open in pack number 2. It'd be nice to pick up some Possessed Scabs. Those guys are ridiculous. I think the more I've played this format, the more I think it might be the best of all of the gold. We got another Painland, which you don't really want. I also don't really want a second Scab Goliath. I'm happy with Claustrophobia, though, and I think that's what I take here. It's a good removal spell. 1 Scab Goliath, like I said, is the most you usually want. Disperse is good too, but Claustrophobia is just better. It can deal with any creature, and that's what we want. Be nice to pick up 2 late Undead Servants again. I don't really want to pay high prices for them, although once you have 2, you can sort of afford to pay a little bit more for them. And so I may do so. And this is also a deck where like Screeching Scab is a 2-drop. I forgot, incidentally, that Screeching Scab actually has some good synergy in, because we've got already 3 cards that care about graveyards. Well, 4 if we count multiple copies of them, and 5, I guess, if you also count Cruel Revival. So Screeching Scab, actually, we're sort of in the actual archetype that they kind of imagined Blue-Black actually being able to support already. And so Screeching Scab and Return Centaur, both a little better in this deck than they normally would be. Towergeist is very good, and I think that's what I pick up here. Scrapskin Drake is good too, but just the hand advantage plus the 2/2 flying body you get with the Towergeist is good. Chief of the Foundry is fine too. And there's a decent chance we pick up someone that produces Thopter tokens, and it would be good for that. The black here is not very exciting. Lightning Javelin's obviously very good, but we're perfectly happy to take a Towergeist. We're getting pretty stacked in 4-drops, which does happen in this format. So we do need to start finding some lower drops. And here we find one. We have a Shambling Ghoul. We have another Chief of the Foundry, which is worth thinking about, but Shambling Ghoul is just better, at least at this point in our deck. And it's a 2-drop, which we pretty desperately need. And another zombie, so. Revenant is actually probably going to be a little better in our deck than it usually is, but it's still not, I could probably, chances are decent that it wheels. I think I take either Artificer's Epiphany or Read the Bones, and I think I just want to take Read the Bones. We don't have a lot to do in turn 3 right now. Hopefully we find more. It is important to impact the board on turn turns 2 and 3, and right now we're a little short on that. But I'm sure we'll improve in that area. We got a Fairy Miscreant, the other collect 'em all creature in this pack. And I may take it. There's nothing else real exciting here. Another Blessed Spirits being here is cool, and Gear per Gear Crafter is also very good. But I haven't felt like my colors aren't open enough. I think this was just a weak pack for our colors for me to sort of, start taking those cards. I think I just take a Miscreant, and maybe we pick up enough to actually run them. Okay, wow, Undercity Troll still being here. That's a pretty good sign green's open. So is Valeron Warden's. Like, yeah, green's definitely open in this draft, but we've got good stuff in our colors, so we definitely don't want to move into other colors at this point when we don't need to. Necromantic Summons is okay, and sometimes better than that. It's a good sideboard card against opponents with bombs that we can kill. But we're just going to take the 2-drop here, who has synergy with a bunch of our other cards, and also partly because it's a zombie. Okay, we got another Undead Servant here, and we're not giving up anything to take it, really. Bone to Ash is a good sideboard card. Dark Dabbling we already have one of, and it's a decent trick. But other than that, I think I just take Undead Servant number 3. It's going to be harder, probably, to pick up Fairy Miscreants, I would guess. But maybe it happens. Oh yeah, Tower Geist also throws things in the graveyard. You draw one card, look at top 2, one goes in graveyard, one goes in your hand. So this deck has an unusual amount of synergy for a blue-black deck, and I'm happy with that. It'll make the deck fun to play, if nothing else. We definitely have a zombie theme going. Too bad there's not a zombie lord in this format, but our opponent's Cruel Revivals will be useless against us. Not useless, but near it. Orbs of Warding is like a pretty legit sideboard card. Like, if you play a Thopter deck, it really hurts them if you have Orbs of Warding. And we're giving up an Evolving Wilds, but I think Orbs of Warding is such a good sideboard card that I'd rather take it over an Evolving Wilds. And I think we just take it for that reason. It's also good, like, if I play an opponent who seems to have like 3 Lightning Javelins and a Exquisite Firecraft or something like that, who I feel like can burn me out. Giving myself Hexproof is pretty big. We'll take a Disperse here for sure. Pretty happy to see that come back to us. Okay. I don't really want a second Rabid Bloodsucker, nor do I want a Bonded Construct despite being a 1-drop. I think I take Artificer's Epiphany. Maybe we pick up like a Whirler Rogue or something else in the last pack that makes it better. But it's already an okay card, I think. Here I think I take Macabre Waltz. We do have the graveyard synergies. Maybe it makes our deck. Here I'll just take what I think is the best card away from someone. Here we'll take Infernal Scarrings, which hopefully we don't have to play. It's better in the black-white deck where you want enchantments for various reasons, and here we don't really have any incentive to play enchantments that aren't Claustrophobia or like Weight of the Underworld, which are just good anyway. So 3 Undead Servants is enough for sure to run Undead Servant, and number 4 and 5 could be pretty big in our deck, especially if we pick up some more ways to dump stuff in our graveyard. I would be pretty happy. We'll just have to see. Yeah, and Shadows of the Past could be a very real win condition for us in this deck as well. So, in addition to the value you get out of scrying with it a bunch of times. I don't think I'm going to run Macabre Waltz, based on how well things have gone so far and how well they'll probably continue to go. And we have an Alhamaret, which is kind of tempting. I mean, it is a big 7-drop, which is kind of a problem in this format. We do have lots of ways to slow our opponent down so we can play our Alhamaret, and it is a big finisher. So maybe I should value it a little higher. I think I probably would, and I would probably even take it if there weren't a good removal spell in this pack, which there is. There's an Unholy Hunger. and maybe, I doubt it, but Al-Hamarat could come back to us, just because 7 drops, even as powerful of one as this, which can just, end the game for your opponent, are just hard to get to in this format because of how fast it is. So I think I just take the Unholy Hunger here. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Take the removal spell. Be cool if Al-Hamarat comes back. Okay, well this is a really difficult pack. We have... These 3 cards are all very good for our deck. Eyeblight Massacre is a very good card, although it has a little bit of dyssynergy with like our Undead Servant stuff. Mizzium Meddler is a very good card because you can use it to like steal an opponent's aura. You can use it to redirect removal from a big win condition. And Separatist Void Mage is just, a great tempo card. Because I already have 2 Void Mages, and 3 is, also good to have, I'm kind of more inclined to go with something that makes our deck a little different. And a 3-drop wouldn't hurt us, like in general. And Mizzium Meddler can also just flash in and block things and kill them at times. And I think I'm just going to take the Meddler. Our deck isn't great for Eyeblight Massacre. It's okay for it. Like we have Water Courser and Shambling Ghoul, which survive it, but almost all of our other creatures that aren't Scab Goliath die to it, and that's not great. I think having this as a way to disrupt our opponent is great. Okay, Guiltleaf Winnower getting passed to us is great and a very good sign of that black is pretty open to our right if 2 people passed it. It is double black. It's hard for people to run, but we're definitely taking it here over everything else. Deadbridge Shaman's good. I would love to pick one up. It's a very good 3-drop. But Eyeblight or Guiltleaf Winnower is much better, and we'll take the Winnower for sure. It's just one of the best rares in the pack. I mean, in the set, it's a 5-mana 4/3 with Menace who gets to destroy, unsymmetrical creatures with power that's not symmetrical. Like Scab Goliath, Undead Servant, things like that. Shambling Ghoul. It's actually a majority of creatures have uneven power and toughness. So you can get to kill a lot of things with it. Okay. We do have Fairy Miscreant number 2 in this pack, but I think I'd rather just take Foundry of the Consuls. It's just a land that sort of doesn't count against your total card total, because it's a land basically. And in the late game, it turns into a threat that can help us win the game. And so I think we just take that. The Miscreant would be nice, especially if we see like 2 more. It's going to be a little sad that we didn't get like 4 Fairy Miscreants and 3 Undead Servants in the same deck, but I'm just going to take the Foundry. It's just a better card. We have an Undead Servant here, Undead Servant number 4. And Undead Servant number 4 is pretty big. Once you really get things rolling with Undead Servants, it's pretty nuts. It would be nice to have some like Nantuko Husks, things like that, to get more sacrificing going on, but it's still so much value. We do have Scrapskin Drake and Aspiring Aeronaut as well. And one area we're a little bit lacking in right now is definitely in Flyers. There's also a Throwing Knife, which is a very good equipment that can also be a removal spell, but just for the sake of fun, I think I want to try out the 4 Undead Servant deck. I've never done it before. And Scrapskin Drake and Aspiring Aeronaut and Throwing Knife are all probably defensible picks here, but with 3 Undead Servants, I think taking a 4th one is pretty big. Chances that you get 2 in a game. Ooh, Whirler Rogue. Wow. Yeah, blue's open, 2 to our right. If Whirler Rogue's here, pick 5. So we've gotten... This pack has been great for us between Undead Servant number 4, which is mostly just fun, but also Whirler Rogue plus Guiltleaf Winnower. Those 2 are both huge bombs in this format, and we'll definitely take a Whirler Rogue. Okay, there's another Fairy Miscreant, so we could have had 3, but I'm happy with what we took over it. I think I do take Fairy Miscreant number 2 here. There's nothing else great in the pack. I don't really want more than 1 Read the Bones. We already have like an Artificer's Epiphany, which is sort of a pseudo Read the Bones effect that doesn't affect the board, and having too many cards like that is dangerous in this format, but we'll take the Fairy. Okay, there's Fairy Miscreant number 3, so things are starting to get interesting here with our deck. I think I take Fairy Miscreant number 3 here. These 2 gold cards still being here is pretty interesting. But there's nothing else really great for us in this pack, so Fairy Miscreant number 3 is worth taking. Blightcaster is still here, but we have 2 enchantments. I don't really think that's enough to really go wild with Blightcaster. And there's not a great chance we pick up any more. I think I just take either Alchemist Vial or Deep Sea Terror here. The Terror does give us another late game threat, and we have various ways of throwing stuff in our graveyard. Not as many as I would like, given the cards we have. But the Vial's pretty great too. I think I'm actually going to take the Vial. Being able to draw extra cards is usually pretty good. I'll take a Sidearm here. I don't think I'll play it. I mean, it replaces itself and it makes something unblockable. Okay, great. We got a Deadbridge Shaman. We definitely need more 3-drops. And there's Fairy Miscreant number 4. Okay, so we got 4 Fairy Miscreants and 4 Undead Servants. So, wow. The Fairy Miscreants are okay. They'd be a lot better if we had ways of making them bigger. And we just don't have those. I have to consider playing them, though. A deck with 4 Miscreants and 4 Undead Servants is just a funny thing to happen. I've actually never... I don't know how many times I've drafted now, but it's a lot. And I've never ended up with a 4 set of any of the Collect 'em All cards. And in this case, we ended up with 4 Undead Servants, which we kind of forced, but we end up with the 4 Fairy Miscreants kind of as an accident, which is pretty funny. And they are more creatures who we can play early and will eventually get dumped into our graveyard. And they do fly, so it's usually better, the Fairy Miscreant, if you have like Thunderclap, Wyvern. So in the blue-white deck, it's usually better. But I'm trying to figure out like how we would shove Fairy Miscreant into this deck. And I just don't think it's I just don't see it as being easy to make happen. But let's try. You got to try, right? When you get 4 of those. I mean, Alchemist's Vial could get cut. It's probably one of our weaker cards. Rabid Bloodsucker could probably get axed as well. But we still need to cut 4 more cards, which for me is probably 4 Fairy Miscreants looking at her deck. We need 17 lands in this thing. We didn't end up with a lot of 2-drops, which is a little scary in this format. But we did end up with lots of ways to get ahead on turn 4 and 5 and 6 with our value creatures like Whirler Rogue and Guiltleaf Winnower, and Undead Servant, which can definitely be a value creature in certain after there's one in your graveyard. He's already generating a lot of value. I mean, I guess I could cut Screeching Scob in favor of the Miscreants here. Could also consider cutting Read the Bones. I'm really trying to fit it in. But after that, I mean, maybe Artificer's Epiphany. Okay, well, maybe I am going to make this work. We do have, that gives us ways to draw cards like within our deck. And it seems pretty fun to have a 4 Undead Servant, 4 Fairy Miscreant deck. So I'm going to try to make this work. But cutting one more thing is tricky. I mean, I could cut Disperse and side it in against opponents with lots of auras. We already have a lot of removal as it is, I guess. So I think I'm going to go for that. I think I'm going to try to make this work. We have 4 1-drops now, so we have early creatures who can threaten the opponent, which is important in this format. Plus, when we get multiples, we get to draw cards. And I think once you have 4 Miscreants, it's enough to run 4. Undead Servant, I'd probably run with just 3, but we have 4 of him as well. So this has been a pretty cool draft. So regardless of how the actual games go, this was a very fun draft for me. We do want the Foundry as well. Gives us some more 1/1 flyers to have in the air against our opponent in the later parts of the game. So I think this is basically our deck. Let's group creatures separately and kind of get a look. But we have 18 creatures, which is great. A lot of creatures are good in this format. And we have 4 very good removal spells and Shadows of the Past to increase our chances of drawing multiple Undead Servants and Fairy Miscreants. Yeah, so I think this is our deck. Hopefully it's as much fun to play as it was to draft. I think it will be. And let's combine the groups again. Sort by color. We actually ended up with more blue, but it's mostly because we're running 4 Fairy Miscreants. But we only need double black late. We need double blue a little earlier, so I think I run 1 more island and swamps. Although 8/8 is probably also fine, but we definitely do need double blue a little earlier than we need double but 7 seems a little low for swamps too, so I think we do just go 8/8. Picking up an Evolving Wilds would have helped our chances a little bit, for sure. But this is our interesting deck with our 8 collect them all creatures so that should be fun. I will see you in round 1, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.